edge of the universe, 400 men and women are probing the immeasurable blackness of space. Their leaders are an Earthman with no fear and a stranger with no heart. Travel beyond our time and solar system, into new galaxies, into worlds beyond your dreams. Star Trek, every week, in color.
Holy moly, it's Tuesday, December 13th. It's 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time. Must mean it's time for serious Star Trek. I'm your host, D'Antron. I'm here from the not-too-distant future. And I was just talking with the boys in the back room, and we're in a world that's swimming with sci-fi. So even if we don't have a lot of new Star Trek stuff to talk about, we got tons of like just real-world events are as sci-fi as they get. So let's bring in some folks who know what they're talking about, or at least sound like they do. Let's bring in right now. You know him, you love him, Captain Fun, Larry Young. Enough said. Hey, Larry.
Dantron, how's it going? But back on Earth, it's the holidays, man, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, you're so funny. At the top of the show, you're talking about, hey, look at all this science fiction and real life stuff is going on. Like, hey, man, I'm talking to you like 100 miles away from you, and Price is on the other side of the country, and we, are all buddies talking about Star Trek. There's nothing more science fiction to me than serious Star Trek.
Okay, well, let's bring in the third leg of this milking stool, the doctor himself, Johnny Price, PhD. Hey, John.
Let's milk some stools, baby.
Yeah, I would not have said that.
We're milking the internet for content, just like everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got stuff to talk.
I'm an old man, so I am hypnotized by your Max Headroom background, man. Dude, and frankly jealous. That's
something else right there.
I just thought of it right before the show, and I found this just online. If it starts making anybody sick, I can knock it off. But I kind of like it.
I'm so used to the 80s, man. That's you need to stutter.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Dantron.
I considered it. Not there yet. You know what's so hilarious? What I loved about it was like they were trying to make everything look all digital, but like they didn't have the computer technology to do it. And like these are all just like analog drawings that they sort of like just hand animated and made and the makeup was to make them look digital and everything to try and give us that like 3D look we take for granted.
I love that. Not just the makeup on his face and the appliances he had to wear, but the shoulder piece was just a full-on 10-pound piece of fiberglass. And that's why he's always moving like this, because there's so much shit on him. It's just hilarious. If you see a behind-the-scenes picture, it's like us in our pajamas. Like, it's only Max Headroom from like here up,
Right.
And everything else is just a dude in his boxer shorts.
As the world should be.
I agree.
The
future.
I think that show kind of flew over my head. I think I was too young at the time because everything I hear about it now is like it's so up my alley with the dystopian fascist kind of future that it implies that I think that like I got to revisit. And I hear there's new Max Headroom stuff coming too, right?
Yeah, the last I heard, they got Matt Frewer and oh man, I forget everybody's name. Annabelle Jankel, and I was confusing with Rockne S. O'Bannon from Alien, but it's not. It's like another dude. His name is like Rockne something. But anyway, they made a really cool thing for BBC 4 or something, and it was a full-on, Max Headroom kind of thing. I mean, Mad Max, sort of Blade Runner, cyberpunk kind of thing, but with its making fun of media, which was right up my alley even back then.
Yes.
And then when they did the ABC show, like, dude, I cannot believe a U.S. network greenlit a show that his entire premise is fuck you television. It's like, did they just not understand what was going on? It was crazy.
The answer is no, they did not.
They did not. Right?
That's absolutely the answer on that one.
And then the whole trajectory, like Max is on Swatch watches and doing books about his guide to life and his Coke pitchman thing. And it's like, dude, that is just so meta. I don't believe it. It's like he became the thing they were making fun of, but on purpose, right? It's like Max Headroom's just
and he was
the best.
I was reading about the creators. Now I'm not an expert, like I said, I haven't watched it since then, and I didn't really get it then. But it was like Max himself is sort of like supposed to be this ultra fascist media type character. Is that am I?
Kinda. It's like so. What happens is their world's Walter Cronkite gets hit in the head, and they download his subconscious into a thing, but he ends up living anyway. The last thing he sees is a sign that says maximum clearance 2.3 meters, but in England it's max headroom. So that's where his name came from. And then so it was an internal conflict. It was great that became physical in that, Edison Carter is kind of he's kind of like an Anderson Cooper guy. Super liberal media guy, wants the truth. And then he has Alex P. Keaton in computer form that's out in the world. And he feels responsible for this thing, but it's not really him. It's really
and Max
that's a dense show. It's really
he's
good.
A villain, right? Like he's essentially a bad character, a bad actor.
Max himself?
Yeah, the character of Max.
I don't know. Do you think Loki's a bad guy? Max is just, pure id, god of mischief stuff. So, I mean, I wouldn't say he's a villain, but because there are villains in the show, like the heads of other channels, and there's on the ground stuff, like the people that haven't plugged into the system are called blanks. And so there's a whole like political thing going on. You make me want to watch this show again.
Me too, man.
All right. Well, somebody
Very
gifted me the bootlegs back in the day with a lot of the Cinemax stuff on, and I felt so bad that when it was released for real, I bought that too. So I'll send you the real one so you can watch it.
Oh, I'd love to take a look. Yeah. It's got to be out there. It's not streaming anywhere. I've never.
But yeah, probably. I'm so old. I keep forgetting.
I wonder.
You can't stream Dread though. The Carl Urban Dread, like it's
no. There's nowhere.
Well, there's these weird things where contractually, it was on this system for a while, and it doesn't start to this one until the end of the year or the beginning of the year or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but what if you want to watch Dread? That's why I bought it back in the day.
I still haven't seen that movie, and I'm a huge Judge Dredd fan.
Oh, dude. Well, don't watch it until you're on your deathbed, because it's just not getting better.
Pat Mills. I talked to Pat Mills about it.
Well, British people probably have a different idea.
Well, yeah, but he was like, and I said, I didn't see it, but they don't really get the kind of satirical side of him in the American version.
Oh, really?
Like it's not
in the Sylvester Stallone version, that's for sure. But
that's
the Carl,
yeah.
The Carl Urban one, it's basically the comic, right? It's Dirty Harry, and he never takes his helmet off, and dude, that movie's so
right.
It was really well done in 3D. Here we go. Max is on Tubi. I was so into that Max Headroom thing. Chris Sagasag and Steve Ukrin and Dave Porter are all talking. I didn't even see that.
Gang's all here, guys. And like I said, we got tons of sci-fi. But how about some Star Trek? Price, you were talking about what? About Nemesis, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, today is the anniversary of Star Trek Nemesis, which is the final motion picture of the Next Generation crew. And as far as everyone knows, it is the final appearance of the Next Generation crew until the zombie show they call Picard came around about 2.5 decades later. But at the time, it was the last. It was the final hurrah. There was no going back. And it dies. And it ends on a very depressing note, and just like all good stories should. And it's very unmemorable. And the best part about it is that the villain, if you could call him a villain, is a very young, very strapping Thomas P. Hardy. You might know him as Bane.
Yes.
That's about
I
it.
love that you said the series of movies dies by accident. I'm like, that's the most appropriate Freudian slip ever, because your list of negative things there, I honestly think you're going light on that movie.
I can go.
That
The thing
movie
about
is
Nemesis, right?
a horror.
I can go. I actually really like the premise of Star Trek Nemesis, which I don't like the clone aspect. I like all the Romulan stuff though, like the Romulan, the Remans insurrection against the Romulan Senate. They kill all the senators. They take over the Empire. Right? That's a really cool idea. A fun space battle between some new Romulan ships, which is always fun. I love me some ships, cool looking ships, and the Enterprise, of course. The only good thing John Eves has ever done is the Enterprise E, and so there's some really cool stuff in it. But the as far as actual plot, it is just atrocious.
But
There's way too much Brent Spiner in it. It's just bad all around.
And yes, so there's a Picard clone, right?
Yes.
And a Data clone, like another Data.
Yes.
An earlier Data.
Yeah. So the premise is that at some point in the past, the Romulans took DNA from Picard and made a Picard clone, and then they no longer needed that Picard clone for some reason, so they sent him to the mines of Moria on Remus,
as you do,
which is now its own planet.
Yes. Okay.
And then he becomes a Reman. He becomes adopted, and he becomes the leader of the Remans, who are a cool design, cool alien design. Then they rape Troy.
Yeah, there's just nothing to like about this movie.
Yeah, Troy gets mind raped in
my.
Star Trek Nemesis.
Okay.
It's very odd. How many times has poor Counselor Troy been mind raped in that series? I swear to God, there's like 2 or 3 episodes in season 2 alone where they mind rape her.
Well, if you're gonna let your thoughts just spill out all over the place and do
that's right.
I'm not trying to victim blame or anything.
That's right. Yeah, you maybe your brain shouldn't have looked like that. You know what I mean?
Good call.
Yes, B4. B4 is the Data. It's not quite a clone. It's a predecessor of Data. It's one of his Khan Union Singh predecessors.
But Porter brings that up. But the B4 is a little precious, isn't it?
And
Data.
Before you've built the other. Okay, I get it. Maybe you do. Maybe you do.
It was a B3. Who knows?
They should have said that though. You just need 15 seconds to make that go away. It's B3 didn't work out the way we had. B4 was the thing, and Data's technically B5. And really? Yeah. Okay. And then tell the movie.
They actually do address it in the film. Picard says something like, well, Dr. Soong always had a way with fanciful names or something. Whimsical names, I believe he says. And it's like, really? Like, why is it got to be B4? He doesn't know.
Really?
Where does Lore figure into that? I thought he was before Data.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all fucked up. The whole thing's stupid.
I don't like this.
The whole thing's stupid. The movies are their own universe. Like I firmly believe in the theory that Star Trek Generations creates an alternate universe. So the good
wouldn't that
TNG
be cool?
Cast ends with all good things, as it should.
That would be great. I think
that would be amazing.
And
that's
that way Captain Kirk didn't die because a bridge fell on him.
No, because that's the stupidest way for Captain Kirk to die. Look, is Captain Kirk going to die alone? Yes. Is he going to die under a bridge on Viridian 3, taking out some stupid guy who just wants to get back to the Nexus? No, he's not.
My problem with that is, I get him having a personal struggle right at the end. I totally get that, but that personal struggle has to have global ramifications.
Yes.
It can't just be, oh, here's the guy we're fighting this week. And oh shit, a bridge. Life was great.
Right.
What the fuck? That's completely the opposite of what happened.
To be fair, Brandon Braga and Ronald Moore wrote that Generations, and they have said after the fact, like, yeah, we know we screwed up. We know we screwed up Generations. So to be fair, they know they screwed it up. But why did you screw it up in the first place?
Yeah. And like, oh, that's great. They're taking responsibility. I can't really get that mad about Nemesis though, because I saw that once on opening day and I went, okay, that's great. I'll know what people are talking about. And how long is it's been? Like 20 years or something, right? 25.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So like, all I remember about that is Tom Hardy's in it because that's the first time I saw Tom Hardy. And for a while, people were like, their big like ding against the whole clone thing wasn't that it was fucking stupid. It was that, well, you know, Patrick Stewart and Tom Hardy have different shaped noses. Like that went on for years, man. That was like, it was like, I don't know, Zack Snyder in the JLA or something. And so I'm like, well, I'm up to date on that fucking movie then, if that's what they're talking about.
Also, there's a really stupid moment in Nemesis where Tom Hardy is spilling the beans, and like there's like an image, like Picard looks back through his like yearbook or some shit, and it's like an image of him at the academy, and he's bald, and it's like really, like that's how stupid you think the audience is like, we know Picard has hair at some point in his life, like he wasn't born, well, maybe he was born bald, but still. Like he has hair at some point. Like at the academy, he probably has hair. By the way, we already had the episode Tapestry. We saw Picard at the academy. He's a handsome fella. Anyway, that's all I got.
As a guy who formerly had hair, I agree with you 100%. Like nobody fucking comes out. Well, they all babies do, of course.
Okay.
But nobody steps onto the playground for the first time with a shaved head. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's the thing. It's like, oh, I shaved my head. Well, yeah, except Picard would never do that. That's like, he's got stuff to do. All that time to shave his head in the morning, he would never do that.
Friend of the show, Red Letter Media, has probably the best takedown of Star Trek Nemesis. If you have 3 hours, go watch their Star Trek Nemesis thing. But yeah,
there's not enough money in the world.
Well, they just point out all the problems, all the inconsistencies. But yeah, there's way too much. At some point during the movies, TNG became more about data. Like the cast became about data, which makes no sense whatsoever. Like Data was just like he had his episodes. Like, don't get me wrong, he had his episodes in the show. Like, he was an important character in the show, but he wasn't the main character. And like all these movies, First Contact is about Data. Generations, he's got the emotion chip. So there's a whole Data plot line during Generations. Insurrection, Data and that stupid kid. You know, like, and then Nemesis, Data and B4. It's like, dude, enough with the Data. No one gives a shit about Data.
Okay, I'm with you because I haven't heard anything that you've said after. So TNG just ended with all good things, right?
Yeah,
because
I mean it's the only way.
That's the only thing. Sense. I agree.
So TNG just ends with all good things, and then there's a movie universe that happens to be like this alternate multiverse version of TNG, and that's the movies. It's all dark and shitty. Right. And then you get the JJ verse, which is another multiverse that's dark and shitty. And then you get the Kurtzman verse, which is another multiverse that's dark and shitty.
I remember that there's that one shot in, I don't know, one of the movie where Picard is thinking about, you know, his Dickensian Christmas. But in that briefing room area or whatever, I remember I had just watched, what's the one after Best of Both Worlds? Family. I had just watched Family. So he's talking with his brother, and that's like super fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
And then I see this thing, and they have the composition of the shot is very similar in that room, but they're like, hey, we're a movie now, so we have movie resources. Let's light this like it's a movie. And they have like, you know, 10,000 LED screens in the back with 15 midgets all going, you know, ooh, and it looks like fucking Carl Sagan's wet dream, right? And it's like, hey, God bless you, that's great. Except that doesn't look like Star Trek at all, and it took me right out of it.
Yeah.
Because anyway, That's what I remember about
because
that
if there's anything
stupid
we know about Jean-Luc Picard, it's that he dreams of living in the Dickensian Christmas past.
Of course he
Like,
does.
get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Not just that. I mean, it doesn't even make thematic sense because
No, of
anytime
course not.
somebody wanted to do that, the holodeck's right there. Like we would have
Right.
seen 15 episodes. Like if they had done that with like Sherlock Holmes or something, you
Right.
know,
Yes.
maybe
Yeah.
I'd go, all right, I get the family idea.
Or
They're
his little like his Thomas Marlowe kind of
Dixon Hill.
Yeah, Dixon Hill.
Yeah,
that's
do
the
some
guy.
film noir.
That would make sense.
Right, I'd buy it thematically. I'd still think it was stupid.
That's
but
why it works. That works in First
Yeah.
Contacts, right? He's Dixon Hill. He mows down the Borg, right? It works.
Every once in a while, talking to you guys, I just think, what do we have to fucking do to just like take Kurtzman's job?
Seriously,
Because like, and we're just some well-informed schmoes. Like, can you imagine if somebody who really knew what they were doing and they let them do it? Like, how good Star Trek would be?
So everyone, I shouldn't say everyone. There's a very large debate because obviously none of us have seen Picard season 3, but there are people out there in the world who believe that Terry Matalas is that guy and is the guy who has brought back Star Trek. Now, there's no evidence, there's no proof, and Terry Matalas is kind of an asshole on Twitter, but there are people who believe that, and I won't name names, but they know who they are.
It's the beginning of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
There are those who believe that
Yes.
Terry Matalas is
Yeah.
from out there.
Well, do you think like he, like they have a sort of like figurehead at the top, right? Who like what's her name at Star Wars? Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah.
Like, and she's just been the target of ire for so long, and now she's finally there's a regime change coming there, as I understood it.
Maybe.
We'll
see.
Believe it when I see it.
Queen Kathy has survived coups
Yeah.
before, and we'll see. Yeah, I think Kurtzman is much more of a figurehead at this point. I actually said this a little while ago. Kurtzman is subtly kind of pushed aside. Like they promoted him out of the way, basically, and they gave day-to-day operations to other people. But it still hasn't worked because it's all the same fucking people. So who knows?
Yeah, but I think that's how you got like 4 good Strange New World episodes instead of 0. You know, somebody.
Well, just Strange New Worlds itself, like just bringing an episodic adventure show, space adventure. That's what people want.
Speaking of that, adventure show, right? Well, last week when we were trying to remember Lenore Caridian's name, I remembered that yesterday. I had some time to do stuff, so I sat down. I'm like, I want to watch Conscious of the King. Get up to date. I don't remember that one very well. And then I just puttered around, did all my stuff, and I left it on. So Netflix just kept playing. And that block of 7 episodes is fucking home run for 2.5 months, right? And that was just making TV in 1967, right? And now they're like, I was talking about this with my kid because he's like, oh, that one. And like, I say to him all the time that like, I'm Captain Christopher and tomorrow is yesterday. Because like I'm a cool guy, don't get me wrong, but like what I'm going to be known for is being the dad of that guy.
That's funny.
And so he laughs, and so I watched that from Conscious of the King to Tomorrow is Yesterday, and so I was telling him about it that I watched these 7, and he's like, Daddy, you say all the time they have real writers on that show, and I'm like, oh my god, that's how you politically indoctrinate your kids, like. My kid has grown up hating the New York Yankees and thinking Kurtzman's, got a brain tumor.
You hear Randy
because he hears that at home.
I love it.
I hate that Alex Kurtzman. Whenever you say it, I think of a guy who's so great like Harvey Kurtzman. So thank you, Randy.
That's funny. Yeah,
Randy's a man. His Facebook is hopping with the stuff. He's an excellent artist. And he will draw something, and I'm like, yeah, I have like 5 or 6 snarky things I could say to be a dick, but it's like, why would I do that? They would be average snark instead of like really good ones because this art is fantastic. Anyway,
somewhere around here, I got a Peacemaker. That Peacemaker portrait he did with like.
Oh yeah, right on.
What algorithm does he use?
Yeah, he uses like 40 years of drawing algorithm. Right? Good segue,
Just
though.
making a joke. Just
Yeah,
making a
there's-
joke. Has nothing to do with
Yeah,
the
there's
guy.
no
I don't know the
comeback
guy.
from that.
I don't know the guy. Just a joke.
How much are we swimming in the future right now, guys? Like,
What is this whole AI art bullshit? All right, I haven't been as balls deep on Facebook as I usually am, and all of a sudden everyone's posting pictures about how they look hot and attractive and sci-fi, and I'm like, you don't look like that. That's an awesome picture. Like, so now all of a sudden I go check out these apps and it's like, oh, sign up for $30 a year. I'm like, dude, I'm not signing up for some AI bullshit for $30 a year. Like, so why are these people, like, what is going on in the world? Someone explain this to me. Why can't you just whip out a pencil and learn how to draw?
Well, because it would take many years of practice to get to the level.
Well, yeah, of course it takes
one
practice.
of these drawings is able to
It
put out
takes talent, it takes practice. That's why it's an art form.
Yeah, right.
Computers can't make art.
But for people who aren't art, like, I really like it for some of the purposes people have used it. Like, say you had a video game and you had a character in it, and you could take the attributes that the character had and sort of randomly generate a really cool looking, that looks like a hand painted portrait of that character in real time. I think that's a fair and applicable use of that AI. It's just when people are trying to pass it off as like, look at my creation,
right?
It's not even that.
That I have problems with it.
It's not even that. It's that how that stuff gets generated is based on the algorithms have scrubbed all the art that people have uploaded, and so artists are like, yeah, I put that on my blog, and you stole it, and this is clearly my art style, so who do I sue? Right? Because they're making money off art that isn't theirs. That's where my people are all like losing it. It's not even that, like, regular folks. I mean, what are you going to do? Look at this cool thing. I always wanted to paint. All I have to do is type Rembrandt and like Big Daddy Trucker, and look, it's a picture of me.
That's awesome.
I get those guys, right? And honestly, I think most artists would be like, he's not going to come up to me for a $1,500 black and white 11x17 commission. So, God bless that guy, right? But it's the corporate use of it that to have this happen, you have to sign up for $30 a year. And who gets that money? It's not the artists, right? So that's
I think it should absolutely be
computers.
The data set that they train these things on is like, it should be opt-in, or they should be able to get a piece of it. But I honestly think that you'll be able to take this to court and go, look, here's this piece of art that the AI generated. Here's my artwork is in the training set. Now take my artwork out of the training set and put the same prompt into the AI, and you are not getting a picture that looks this cool, like, or even looks like it at all. So I think it'll be provable. And so maybe there will be some way for artists to,
I like the guys who I saw on your page, Larry, who are doing the Mickey Mouse stuff. If there's one way this is going to shut down, it's you take on the mouse.
That's cool you saw that, because I was just going to say that. It's like, we're not even going to get to this point because Disney's going to go, have those assholes killed. Like, it's just not, this is going to go right far away.
Well, guys, and I have used I signed up for Midjourney for a little bit, and I messed around with it. Here, I'm gonna remove this from you guys from the screen for a second. This picture back. Oops. So I put, give me a city in the clouds for that.
Right.
And I said, so I could have something to put Lando on top of.
That's cool.
And it's like, dude, for 10 seconds and costing essentially nothing, because you can actually do the trial thing for free. But I spent a couple of bucks to sign up for a month. And then I quickly realized it's, at least Midjourney, it was kind of a dead end. To me, it would be more interesting if I were to get the software from GitHub, run it myself, use my own data sets, then there's like some work involved. But
right, then you're an artist, man. If you ask me, right? Like that counts, because you're manipulating the ones and zeros. Like, it's not it's not like just a file you wrote. Like I think
I
that's what's
definitely
given
see-
everybody the heebie-jeebies is the code aspect has no feeling, doesn't understand atmosphere or context or anything. You heard about this the Lupo thing, right? The the digital form that's haunting the internet. It's
Oh,
this
yeah.
woman that keeps showing up.
Totally.
So like the second I heard that, I'm like, can we all just like shut this down?
Yeah, when are people going to wake up and be like, oh, this is actually stupid. This is bad.
Well,
Stop doing these things.
and speaking of which, though, there's also the writing version of it, that Chat GPT chatbot that's out there.
Mhm.
It's naming Reddit, Larry, and
I
John.
have a lot of thoughts on that. I'll tell you
Totally.
that.
Yeah.
And again, I could see some applications of it that would be fun. Like it'd be fun for me to write a plugin where I could write a blog post and it would crawl the blog post and put a bunch of factoids about the things that I was writing in the blog post or something like that, and format them really cool, and maybe even generate a brand new image for it right there, and not pay anybody for it. Really, really.
Yeah, no, I get that. Like if you're writing like short story or something and you want like free, easy like imagery, like that makes perfect sense, right?
I think it does.
Or you could just hire an artist.
True, which very expensive, but you get more when you hire a person. One of the best explanations I've seen is like right now, this shit is great for if you go like, give me dinosaurs with a donkey head or whatever, and you kind of get what you want. But
People are just fucking around.
You can't say, give me that soldier from image 1 and put him on the dinosaur from image 2 and make him holding a World War II, rifle.
Right.
You definitely it's harder to do that where you could do that to a person. You could take a couple of comments and say, combine that and that and that, and give me a tweak like this. And we're not there yet. I mean, the natural language processing, that's where the Chat GPT really blows me away. It's not that the content is that compelling, but it's the way it understood the questions and the prompts that I wrote to it, and the decent quality, and certainly like you're reading what it generates, and you're like, this seems like a person probably wrote it. It didn't feel like it's just Mad Libs. You know what I mean? It felt,
It felt the Turing test is not going to fail in art. It's going to fail in writing. And
they're getting better with
pretty darn close, and it's really not a good thing. It's really not a good thing.
I just think, but I can tell. So the way I look at it is like how I consume entertainment. Like there's a bunch of stuff that just is not for me, because I think that's just sort of average, and I'd never even watch if I could stay up at night. I'd probably play solitaire or something instead of watch this bullshit. Like that's like half of everything, right? So I don't know. I think you can tell, besides this is something somebody typed or this is something that's an elaborate script. I really do.
So one of the
pornography. I can't, obscenity. I can't define it, but I know when I see it.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the problems is like people are afraid, kids are going to cheat, whatever, right? Kids are already cheating. Spoiler alert. Kids have been paying people to write papers for them since, the dawn of money. So now you're just paying a computer to write a paper for you, right? So ethically, not really that different, right? In terms of our sci-fi future, however, there's a huge worrying. It really worries me a lot. Let's put it that way.
But anyway. Star Trek's going to happen, not Mad Max.
I don't understand. Well, that's a whole.
Well, guys, one of the things though, we don't get to Star Wars or Star Trek rather. But one of the big technological gaps has been these large language models. Like you don't see anybody programming on the Enterprise. They just have a conversation with the computer, right? And
and fully interactive voice interface things like that.
Ask it a series of questions and it just kind of answers.
Yeah.
We're almost to Star Trek levels.
Yeah.
With this Chat GPT, as far as it's sounding natural, and the voice synthesis is already pretty good out there, as well as the voice recognition. It's when those things come together seamlessly, we're going to get something interesting, at least, I think.
Just put it in the Scarlett Johansson Japanese robot, and no one's going to
go.
have a problem with that.
There you go. The problem is never the computers. The problem is the people, right? And so, like, if I trusted people with this technology, I would feel a lot better than I do, because I just don't trust anyone.
Guys, what do we want to know? We've got our friend, the AI, right here.
See, here's the thing, though, that gives me kind of the heebie-jeebies. In capabilities, it says remembers what user said earlier in the conversation, right? No, it doesn't remember it. You're using anthropomorphized language for that. And so everybody starts going, oh, well, this is going to be, this helpful tool. And all I think is like, no, man, didn't you guys see 2001? And like literally every movie that had a computer in it after that.
Single movie.
I mean, Jesus Christ. Anyway.
I mean, the obvious go-to is Terminator. But like, has no one seen Terminator? Like, computers are bad.
That's like, did you ever see Moon with Sam Rockwell?
I haven't seen Moon, but it is very high on my list.
Kevin Spacey voices the computer, and because he's got a creepy ass voice, and there's lots of situational ethics, you keep waiting for the computer to do the wrong thing, and it's the only one that makes a good choice in the whole movie, and it's fucking hilarious because literally everyone's like, I did not see that coming. The computer was a good guy this whole time.
I asked it how we stop kids from cheating using ChatGPT, and it says, as a large language model, I don't have the ability to prevent people from using me or any other tool. It's up to individuals to act with integrity and not use tools like ChatGPT or any other resources to cheat on exams or assignments. It's also important for educators and parents to monitor their students' use of these tools.
That was pre-programmed by a lawyer. A lawyer rewrote this, and that's pre-programmed.
So let me tell this quick thing. Don't take that down, because you need to see this. My brother-in-law is an adventure writer, and when he's starting his stuff, he was writing for Outside Magazine. And one of his, he'd flow me his stuff and for notes, and I'd happily read it. But there's this one thing. He starts off, as a certified dive instructor. And I was like, dude, you have to change that, because you've just spent half the article showing people that you have an area of expertise in this. So you don't have to call it out. And so look what the fucking computer writer goes. Well, as a large language model, it's like, already you suck. You literally, your first couple words are like, no, that's stupid. That's either a moron who's just starting out as an adventure writer, or fucking computer.
Well,
everybody's an editor, Larry.
It's definitely not. People conflate this stuff with general artificial intelligence, like a Mr. Data, which it's definitely not. I always wondered in Star Trek, did they ever call out like why Data? It was Noonien Singh was the only one to be able to crack true artificial intelligence. Is that what the deal was? Like the computer in the Enterprise was not a person. It's just a thing, right?
So it's tricky, right? Because in the original series, there's like androids all over the place, right? There's entire planets worth of androids. Like the episode Mud is running a planet full of androids.
Yeah, right.
But by the time you get to the Next Generation, the conceit with Data is that, yes, Data is the only anthropomorphized artificial intelligence that has the possibility and yearning to become human. That's kind of the answer. By the time you get to the Kurtzman bullshit, it's back into fucking who knows what.
In 7 years, there's a planet of
there's another
slave race robots.
Slave androids.
That's a good Star Trek.
It was always one of those kind of hand waving things, though, of like, why can't they just replicate Data?
Well, I guess that was the thing. They wanted to, they tried to, but they could never figure out how. And of course, Noonien Singh was dead, so.
But I mean, replicate them literally using a replicator, like scan them in the transporter and make another one, boot that fucker up.
Replicators only work on living people.
It's the positronic brain that's the problem. You could replicate Data, it just wouldn't have his positronic brain, because
that's pretty cool.
Heisenberg uncertainty principles and whatnot.
Like it wouldn't have his personality, or it would just be like a blank brain, which would be cool.
It would just
What
be a machine.
the word on the street is just it's hard to do positronic brain.
Yeah.
So
which I guess it makes sense if it's like an energy matrix that is going on in his brain that keeps his consciousness alive. I always imagine it's some kind of like holographic memory system or something like that.
You know, it's interesting because in Star Trek Nemesis, Data dies.
Yep. He's B4 and nobody cares.
It's the best part of the movie.
And then B4 became him, right? Like
and then they transfer Data's memory into B4, and just a fucking stupid idea.
You know, you were saying like, why is Data? Why was he so powerful? I just felt like when the show came on, that Data was the reason that I stayed on for season 1. Like he was the coolest Star Trek character.
It's a cool character idea. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I just like why isn't there a Beverly Crusher subplot? Why isn't there a Geordi subplot? Why isn't there a fucking Worf subplot?
It's just the whole having superpowers and then the lack of emotions. Like all the autistic weirdos who love that show must have, like me, semi-autistic, are like zoned in on Data.
Right.
Like the job.
No, it's cool, I like the character, but he's just so overdone.
You know,
in the series, he's just another crew member.
That's why I'm thinking that for the films, there might be something contractual going on there. That, you know, somebody negotiated like, okay, I won't take all this money. You can give it to the other guys, but you have to make me part of a C plot or something. Like, you never know. I wouldn't put that past Spiner, honestly.
Interesting. Yeah, Brent Spiner's an
asshole. I'm just guessing.
Data has like almost the richest backstory of any of the Next Generation crew, as far as like really knowing where he came from, and we go back and explore his origins and his relatives and all that stuff. So I feel like they
definitely kept adding on relatives for Data. Like all of a sudden he's got a brother, and then he's got a mother. Then his actual Noonien Soong actually shows up in an episode. Like there's a lot of shit going on with the Data family. But so the Star Wars fanboys would have hated that one. Anyway. I don't know. Like they all have it. I think TNG characters are just boring in general. But so Data, at least you're right. Data has an interesting backstory. Worf has an interesting backstory that they never really get into. They go all the wrong ways with it.
Underexplored I always thought because
Worf's
being brought up by Earth people. Like I wanted to know more about that. Like what his
job. But
Russians
overcompensates. He overcompensates by becoming more Klingon than other Klingons. Right? He dives headfirst into Klingon traditions that he doesn't really know about.
True.
Right? He's completely cut off from what it means to be Klingon, and yet he's like scouring the Elkar's database for every single Klingon tradition he can get his hands on, and like making it part of his identity. Right? It's a really weird, interesting story on like I don't know, like people cut off from their culture.
It totally is, dude.
Yeah,
it totally is, and that's it is an interesting point.
Like he's a war refugee. That's what he is. And it's just interesting. It's interesting. They should have made more Vietnam allegories.
I just want a scene in elementary school with people making fun of his head ridges, like the kids.
Oh, I would have made fun of him all day. Are you kidding? That kid would have gotten torn apart in New Jersey. Get out of here.
But see, that makes
he's lucky he's over in Minsk.
That makes me think that like what we got instead, right? Like just all that endless crap about Alexander.
Like the worst.
Was that his baby? That's the baby Worf.
Yeah, the baby Worf. I just love the fact that they straight up were like, Worf's gonna be a terrible father for the next 8 seasons across TNG and DS9. He's just gonna be a terrible father. Like that's his characteristic. I love it.
Yeah.
They even make fun of it in DS9. There's a whole, when Alexander miraculously becomes of age to join the army, and he shows up under Worf's command under a different name, and Worf is like, I didn't think you wanted to be a warrior. He's like, yeah, because my father's an asshole. and like, you know, just like drops the bat'leth, you know, and walks away. You know, it's it's
All
good
right.
stuff. It's
That's
good stuff. Good stuff. Yep. So yeah. They what was the other thing? There was one other thing I wanted to say about Star Trek Nemesis. I can't remember. The coolest ship designs. The coolest ship design. This is peak.
Oh yeah,
Johnny.
yeah. Chris
Johnny doesn't get any better than Star Trek Nemesis. We're talking the Romulan bird of prey that come in, or warbirds rather. Instead of the big bulky warbirds that we're used to in TNG, now they're kind of like sleek and they look like airplanes. It's good stuff. But yeah, that's about it. I've spent time on Star Trek Nemesis.
Plus, you know how I feel about streamlined spaceships. I mean, no,
well, sure.
clunkier the better, man.
Sure.
Nothing.
But the Romulans, they got that whole, you know, Falcon motif.
Honestly, I'd give it to you on the Romulans. I do like those ships.
Yeah, they're cool.
But I don't have the love for the Enterprise E that you do.
How about
I don't love the Enterprise
It's like
E.
a fucking speedboat.
Yeah, I don't love the Enterprise E. I just don't hate the Enterprise E.
Yeah,
I'll put it that way. And in the world of Kurtzman Trek, I've had to readjust my settings for what is good and bad.
Right. Not hating is a win.
Yeah. Speaking of Terry Metalis, right? We haven't seen the show, right? We haven't seen the show. We don't actually know what's coming, right? Whether it's going to be amazing, whether it's going to be terrible. The only thing we do know is that they created a new starship, the new Titan, USS Titan, and it looks awful. It's terrible looking. I swear to God, it's the ugliest ship I ever seen. And I've seen a lot of ugly ships coming out of this regime. And it's awful looking. So not off to a good start, Terry.
Aren't you used to that though? Like there hasn't been a good
yes.
ship design with the modern stuff, if you ask me.
No. And it's so easy because, like, say what you will about Star Trek Online. Star Trek Online has a lot of cool ship designs. And they actually used a couple of them at the end of last season of Picard. They were blurry. They were in the background, right? But they used a couple of them, and then they created a couple new ones that were just awful. It's like, dude, stop making new things. Just mine Star Trek Online for ship designs, and you'll be fine. Like, everything will work out. I don't like the Cerritos, but I do like the Parliament class, the kind of bigger version of the Cerritos. So, you know, there can be good ships out there.
It's kind of weird. The least aerodynamic looking Star Trek ships are the shuttles that are the ones that are probably going to be landing on planet.
The boxes.
A minivan. So
yeah, it's great.
Hey guys, I got one more torn from the headlines.
Yeah.
If we got time. Talk a little bit about the fusion, dude. The fusion is happening. They shot lasers. Look at this beautiful Ellen R. Brown-esque drawing of what's going on here, Larry.
Mm-mm.
That's awesome.
So they shoot lasers at a fuel capsule, a hydrogen fuel capsule, and they get as much energy as they use to power the lasers, plus like 20%.
When they figure out how to scale this baby, it's game over. Game over. We need fusion so bad.
They were teasing this last night on MSNBC, and they were talking to one of the Livermore Labs scientists, and they were like, he's like, I caution everybody, you can't go out tomorrow, and we have all this free energy. It's going to take a while. We have to have actually a leap in engineering to scale this up. And they're like, okay, what are we talking about? And he goes, 10 years. And I was like, well, that sounds great.
Yeah. Well,
like, why do you sound
hold on, I gotta hit the
it?
treadmill, make sure I'm here the next 10 years, because this is gonna be awesome. You know,
that tells me though that the next internet bubble, dude, now that the shine is off tech, now that internet is commodified, all these high-tech companies, Google and stuff that seemed so shiny even 10 years ago, now it's just we all expect it. It's just like picking up the phone now, most of these technology companies. So it's like, what's the next where's all that venture capital money going to flow? It's going to start flowing into fusion energy.
I hope so. I hope
That'd
so.
be good.
I am not an engineer. I can't do math to save my life. But man, we need some serious engineering miracles coming out in the next few decades.
It was great that it's the Financial Times that broke this story,
Right?
too.
That's hilarious.
And to tell you the truth, it's one of the best newspapers out there to read because it's very apolitical. It comes out of London, but they're like it's all about money. So they tell political stories, but it's very like to the point, like how this is going to affect corporations and stuff. And like they often tell a lot of truths in FT, but it's super expensive, which is why I haven't popped for a full subscription. Like really expensive, like Paramount Plus expensive. Practically.
That's way too expensive.
Yeah.
You should not do that.
This is like leap after leap. This AI stuff piling on top. Now, if fusion energy drops, it's not only going to revolutionize now electric cars become very feasible when you to go wide scale, but dude, the geopolitical chaos that will erupt when
It's gonna be great.
when you dethrone oil.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens.
I hope
As an
it's
historian of planet Earth, I can't wait to see what happens to Earthmen culture when we dethrone oil, because people do not like it when we fuck with their economic backbone.
It's like when they figured out how to replicate dilithium in between original series and TNG, right?
This screws up everything.
Is because suddenly this limited resource becomes just, at least for electricity. Now, gas engines are not going away for construction, for airplanes, for so many things. For
electric cars are so far down the gonna be possible list. Like, I know everyone out there, I know you guys love electric cars. Us over here in the rest of America, electric cars are not gonna work. Sorry, Tesla.
Well, I think they work. It's just, will they scale to when California decides you have to have an electric car and you can't have a gas?
It's not going to happen.
But yet they won't fund nuclear power, maybe fusion power. They're just hoping somebody comes along with a fusion power out of it.
If we can skip nuclear and go straight to fusion, that would be fantastic.
That's the dream.
Let's also not forget Artemis just had a splashdown. We had our first capsule splashdown picked up by an aircraft carrier since the goddamn 1970s. That's pretty awesome, right?
We got private space industries launching rockets. We got satellites dotting us. We're gonna have global internet.
We got fucking Space Force. Are you guys ready for Space Force? Dude.
Do you think anybody laughed at any of the meetings when they talked about the names? Do you think anybody just chuckled at those Pentagon meetings?
I hope so. I hope everyone's in on the joke. I really do. I really do. I think they take it seriously, but
I'm not in on the joke. I think that's fucking awesome. What else do you call it?
Name is
right? It's like
you call it Starfleet,
Army, fucking Air Force. Well, we're up there with Space Force. Fuck you.
Yeah,
I like Space Corps.
What else do you call it? Right?
Space Corps sounds cool.
I just the use of the name Force just implies that it's just going to be another vector for political
that's
cool. Fuck yeah,
right.
America. If America doesn't own space, we're gonna have a real shitty time on this planet. Yeah, America.
That's
USA,
why when you're
baby.
like, "Ooh, we got the first splashdown since the '70s," I'm like, "Yeah," and fuck all of you people that made me wait that long.
No kidding.
So come on.
Yeah, I did see the Air Force's the Air Force's had a space shuttle up in orbit for 3 years, something like that. It's unmanned, but it's been up in orbit for 3 years. It just came down a couple weeks ago. So shit's happening, man. Shit is going down.
Well, what's the next? We've got artificial intelligence. We've got virtual reality is starting to get a toehold. It's not quite there yet. We need teleportation, time machine, Or what else? What else is jetpacks? Just
jetpacks.
They've got those pretty cool jetpacks.
I just want my
man,
jetpack.
you know what would happen? They would turn into segways, and you would have fucking frat boys playing like fucking Quidditch or whatever, and running into each other all drunk and falling into somebody's house.
You know.
Then now we don't get jetpacks. Thanks for nothing.
See those dudes on
nothing.
Electric skateboards that have one wheel.
Yes.
I'm talking about what, one wheel in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like I look at those guys. I go, it is inevitable that every single one of those people riding that thing is just gonna fucking kill themselves, right? Like they're gonna.
There's, I live on the beach, right? There's a dude that has one of those, and he carries like one of those old 70s lawn chairs with a canvas in it. And when he unfolds it, it's just the right size to fit on the where you put your feet. And so he can ride it sitting down.
Well, there you go.
And I'm like, dude, you're just next level. Like do the thing to get exercise, but don't actually get any exercise about it.
I love it.
Anyway.
Because you guys have seen
America, baby.
America.
You seen those ones where the guys have the hand jets and they.
Oh yeah.
The sort of Iron Man guys, and they control like they're doing those things in the military now. Like we're pretty close to jumpsuits, dude. Starship Trooper jump mech suits can't be that far. Can't be.
It's gonna happen. Give me some fusion, baby. Let's do it.
Well, I think fusion is gonna be what.
Then we're gonna be mining H3 on the moon.
Yes, please.
Shit's gonna go down. We're gonna stop those tidal waves because there won't be a moon left. It's gonna be awesome.
Great idea. If there's not already nonsense going up on, I really feel like the dark side of the moon is too convenient that there is a dark side of the moon for nothing to be going on over there.
Right. It's very suspicious. Very suspicious.
Iron Sky. That's where the space Nazis are.
Something like that. And the Russians especially have been up there mapping that side of the moon for so long. Like they got, they got something.
Oh yeah.
Man. I'm
so glad the Russians are our enemies again. It just didn't feel right in the 90s. It just didn't feel right. We're back in space. We got Russians and Chinese and shit. Let's do this. America. Are you in, Dantron? America.
Well, dude, and like uprisings in China and
it's great.
Jumping on Russia.
I'm working with a friend of the show, Brian Shaneman. I'm working with him on a political white paper about a 21st century Monroe Doctrine. You guys are all gonna love it. Dantron, you're gonna hate it. Everyone else is gonna love it.
I was gonna say that sounds awesome,
yeah.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Just remember, bikinis and spacesuits.
Yeah, and freedom.
And freedom. Fuck yeah.
I'm so glad we watched Star Trek Nemesis this week, you guys.
That fucking movie.
So what's on the agenda? What's on the Star Trek agenda coming up? What's
great question
on the radar? I am thinking about watching Picard season 3. And they kind of got me with.
I'm definitely gonna watch it. Yeah. You got to bitch about something.
The only thing I don't watch is Prodigy. It's not for me. It's a good show.
I've heard it's great.
I love the uniform. I love their little badges. I love everything about it except the actual show.
Yeah.
They had their chance to.
It's not for me.
I did watch the pilot, and I love cartoons and stuff, but like it just didn't feel like Star Trek at all. I didn't understand what was going on until the very, very, very end. Then it felt a little bit like Star Trek, and I just didn't have any investment in it. And I'm not a little kid.
That's the problem. It's definitely made for little kids, which is fine. That's great. If we want to get little kids indoctrinated on Star Trek, that's great with me. Right?
I don't know, dude.
Away from it.
And when I think about the 20 years from now, like when we're just doddering
out to pasture,
right? When we're out of the demographic where anybody cares, like what will be the blockbuster? Because this superhero thing is gonna fade, right? It's gonna at some point, just like Westerns did, and different genres come and go. I just think it's gonna be all anime style, Asian.
Don't say that.
Pirates are the new monkeys, man. Remember that book we did, Scurvy Dogs? That was the marketing tagline. Like, it didn't make any sense. It was just like, It sounds like, hey, I was missing out on the monkey thing. I better not sleep on the pirates. And fucking everybody loved that, right? And that's what the next thing is. It's just it's just the next thing. You can't predict what the next thing is going to be. Everybody be millionaires.
Yeah, because what was it before the rise of the superheroes? What was like was dominating Hollywood? Was it like the comedy, the Judd Apatow era of comedy were kind of the big
the frat pack era guys.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
A lot of like mid-budget movies, you know.
I mean there was definitely, you know, a 70s vibe. There was an 80s comedy vibe, plus the, you know, your Kramer versus Kramer kind of thing. You know, 90s were sort of, you know, Winona Ryder's stuff. So, and then, you know, Iron Man was 2008, and there were still, you know, FF and X-Men movies in the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the first X-Men's 2000.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to count that's basically when it started.
I mean, that's when it began, but it wasn't.
Sure, it wasn't a Marvel thing.
Yeah. Like the X-Men movies existed kind of by themselves, and as part of like the larger cinematic landscape, right? Don't forget the Lord of the Rings was in there. The Lord of the Rings dominated shit for like years, and Harry Potter was in there for a while.
I'll never go back and watch a Lord of the Rings movie or a Harry Potter movie. I did watch them all. I know I watched all the Lord of the Rings. Did not watch any of the Hobbit, but I have no desire to ever revisit those. Maybe the show. I hear the Amazon show. Some people, I hear mixed things about it.
Yeah.
The movies, as cool as they were, they're not like I would go back to them again and again, like a Star Wars or.
Yeah, what's an experience, you know?
Mimi just checked out because that's her Star Wars. That's what she puts on. She loves those things.
Was she into the books before?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. She just loves the whole. She was soaking.
There's no helping those people because
those bookers.
Because fucking Peter Jackson just came along and just justified everything they've been saying for all these years. It's like, yeah, it's not just 500 pages of bad poetry, like over every time they fucking burst into song. Are you kidding me? How many times they do it in that book? And
I love it.
I'm just paralyzed into silence because if I say anything, what I really think about this.
Oh yeah.
My wife will get cross at me. So
you can track it. Hey.
So guys, I got a question. Are we gonna be here next week or are we on Christmas break?
Is Christmas next week?
What is next week? Yeah. I don't know.
Next week.
That's the 20th, right? 20th. Yeah. No. I mean, I'm still around.
Okay. I'm just asking for the audience. I just want the audience to know where they can find us.
Well, look who got a comment from down there, Larry.
Yeah, Elliot Brown. We're going to see him tomorrow.
Elliot
R. Brown. And he's right about Potter. Like, my kid and I watched all three of them a couple days ago.
So we'll be back on tomorrow. Me and Larry and Elliot. We last time we had audio problems, but we're gonna try a new setup this time, and I hope it works. And we're gonna look at a bunch of new comics tomorrow. How do I get rid of that picture? Here we go. And he'll be back. He'll be back tomorrow. He may or may not join us in the future. After that, we'll see. I've loved his appearances, but the audio problems last time were horrendous.
That was just so frustrating because I'm like a giant fan. Like, it's like Socrates. What did he say? What wisdom did I miss?
It was like a 5-second delay or something.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was tough, but we're going to figure it out for sure. And we'll be back with Elliot. Dude, I even have a new animated logo that I built just for Elliot R. Brown.
Oh, that's cool.
You have no idea how much pressure it is to do 3D drafting for the guy who can literally do by hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hope you have cutaways and depth of field.
I don't. Yeah, if we can't figure it out, the audio tomorrow, I don't know what we're gonna do, but I think we can. I feel confident, Elliot, and we'll get on early and we'll connect and do that tech check and make sure that it works. But then after that, John, you bring up a good point. We will be back because, here it is. It's that time again. But we will be back next week. It's going to be next Tuesday, I think. Yeah, we will be back because it's not Christmas or anything like that. So I got time if you got time.
Absolutely.
I got time.
Yep.
We're
here.
Be there. So we'll be here.
In some universes, we've already done it.
Oh.
In some universes, there's a Enterprise Christmas party with a certain Helen Noel waiting
Dr.
to
Helen
dance.
Noel. Yep.
Well,
Sigh.
Okay,
Happy thought.
We've established we're doing it, and it's going to be.
We're all Eskimo brothers because of Dr. Helen Noel.
And it's going to be 3 p.m. It's going to be 3 p.m. And it's Pacific Earth time, that is. But Captain Fun, where? Where? Oh, sorry, Captain Fun. Wait a minute, Captain Fun. Where will it be, Captain?
On the internet.
Hello, I'm William Shatner. I'm Jewish, you're probably not. That's too bad. Or good for you, depending on your point of view. You see, in America, we can all practice our faiths however we choose. People have been coming here for a long time for that. In fact, since the year 1620. Mazel tov, pilgrims. Mazel tov.
Desperate Crossing, the untold story of the Mayflower, Sunday night at 8 on the History Channel.